There's quite a lot of internal things going on in markets around Asia, which will carry on agnostic what's going on with the China and the coronavirus right now. Now, in the case of Japan, we've drawn attention to a theme called Naibu Henka, which we refer to as internal change. And in Japan, you've got a lot of activism going on, and really quiet activism. You've got a lot of local investors challenging management teams about things like capital structure. We've got the AGM season coming up in June, and of course we've got unprecedented levels of domestic M&A. So Japan, there's enough going on domestically, which I think will cause investors to carry on looking at that market with some interest.
Give us your assessment of the earnings we've had so far out of Japan Inc.
Okay, so I think one thing which will happen during the course of 2020 is the buyback activity we saw during 2019 will continue. So that always has a propensity to accelerate earnings growth. And I guess what we have in Japan is we got the issue where companies announce buybacks and then they execute buybacks. Now, what's quite interesting, if you go back to November, we had companies like Kyushu Rail, we had companies like Toyota announce fairly significant buybacks. In the case of Kyushu Rail, I think it was $1 billion. In the case of Toyota, it was $1.8 billion. So those buybacks will actually be executed by a certain point in time. So our view is that the buyback activity, which was announced back in November, will be a kind of support mechanism for the Japanese market going into, let's say, March, April time. And then we have AGM season coming up in June, where again we'll see more buyback activity taking place. Now, what that means for earnings is that earnings will be supported by that. So I think you've got your fundamental exposure to the Japanese economy, and also in the case of Japan, 50% of earnings are outside of Japan, so it's international. You've got that fundamental level, and of course you've got the artificial accelerator, which is the buyback.
Jim, when you talk about exposure, though, to the Japanese economic story, I mean, I want to take another look domestically about what you are expecting from them economically, because you made an interesting point, again, ahead of the break, talking about the fact that the coronavirus could perhaps dent travel if it does indeed last all the way up to the Japan Olympics. And there seems to me that there were lots of hopes around the Olympics, that it would be a boost, especially on the consumer side, after what we've seen, a lot of weakness tied to that retail sales tax hike.
Yeah, that's true. And I think if we look at the other factors, let's say the more quiet factors we're seeing in Japan, which will probably get more attention given that vacuum, let's say, of inbound travel. I think domestic M&A is a theme which the market has not really fully acknowledged. Back in 2019, every month we had 200 domestic M&A transactions. And a lot of this is in middle market companies, where companies which do not have clear succession plans, where you've got management owners looking for an exit, the government's actively encouraging these companies to come together, and that sort of activity actually accelerates valuations. So I think, again, that's a kind of silent catalyst which will come into play during 2020.
Hi, I'm Emily Tan, and thanks for watching CNBC. You can check out more of our videos by clicking on the boxes on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks for watching.